Okay, so I made some changes to this. At first I had the areas that are white now were going to be black, and the areas that are black inside here was going to be white, so I just reversed it. So just want to explain that before I get started. But I want to show you the process of carving, how to carve out areas. Right now I'm using a gouge called a V gouge, and so this has the end of it is shaped like a V. Other gouges that I have are a U gouge, so this is kind of a wide sweep U gouge, and then I have a very, very small, tiny U gouge. You can kind of see that. And I have another little bit of a deeper sweep, not as wide a sweep, a U gouge. And then another one here that I use often is this kind of in between, middle of the road U gouge, but again the sweep isn't quite as wide or as shallow. Each one of these makes a different mark. So I'm going to start out with a very fine V gouge, and I'm going to just start carving away. What I want to do is carve on either side of this dark line. I want to leave this area right here dark, so I'm going to carve on either side of it. So and all I'm doing is clearing out the sides with the V gouge, kind of drawing, using the V gouge as a way to draw. I should probably mention that my method of carving is probably not the safest method, because I'm kind of carving it, bringing it toward myself, but I always hold it with both hands. Notice my thumb here kind of helps control it, give control to it, keep it from going off the block. And I usually just make little small cuts when I do that. If I have to do a really long cut, I always carve away from myself in this direction, but I still use both hands. I always try to, just to give myself more control, I'll try to put one hand down on the end or finger that kind of sort of guide, and then I always have my palm and the tool in the back of my palm and the other hand to kind of push with. When I'm carving it toward myself, I always have my thumb at the end of it here, and then my other hand holding the tool in my other hand, where I actually have push with this finger, pushing it toward me, holding it back with this thumb. So again, that's just a way that works best for me. I don't recommend it. For some reason I've gotten into the habit of doing it that way, and it seems to work. So it gives me a lot better control. What I'll do here initially is just go around and sort of I call this a relief cut, because all this area that's white here is going to get carved out. So I'm making relief cuts where I can start and stop. So for instance, this area right here, let me go ahead and I'll just carve this out. I'll grab another one of my U gouges, this smaller or sort of medium-sized U gouge, and I'll go ahead and clear that out. You can kind of see what I mean. The relief cut allows me to have a place to stop. So those areas there that I've cleared out were relief cut and then cleared out. So I'll go ahead and continue making some more relief cuts. And just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and finish this area here, and then I'm going to do a couple of these white lines. These are going to be white lines. Kind of show you that process, and I'm going to carve around this, around the head, and then I'll be done with this demonstration. So. And by the way, most of you will probably be using linoleum rather than wood. This all works the same way for the most part. Your linoleum actually will cut a little bit easier than the wood. This particular kind of wood is called Shina, S-H-I-N-A, Shina plywood, and I actually buy it from a place called McLean's, and all they sell is relief printing specific supplies. So, great company. Even had some of my artwork published in their catalog. That's nothing really special. Anybody can submit something and probably get it into their catalog if it's a relief print of any kind. But they're a really great magazine. They're great people too. I've met them at a conference, talked to the people who I have talked to on the phone when I've made orders before. I actually talked to them face to face at the conference. Just a neat company, small company, but they, since they're the only one of its kind, they do a lot of business because they are worldwide. They're an international company. They sell to a lot of Japanese printmakers. I goofed. Made a little bit of boo-boo right there. Didn't want that to be open. Didn't want that to come apart in that spot right there, but oh well. One thing about art, as in life, you have to learn to be flexible. There is no edit, undo, or command Z in this process. You have to live with your mistakes, live with them, or redo them. There are some ways you can redo things with woodcuts. I could get some wood filler and make something there, but I think what I'll do is I'll just narrow that line a little bit so that it comes to a point. It looks more intentional. You have to have a little bit of flexibility. This is the thing I love about making fine art. Making art from an actual process rather than a digital process is that you get to live with those mistakes. You get to learn from them or live with them, and they become part of the work. And there's nothing wrong with that. The world we live in gives us a lot of options. There's always an easy way out. And this kind of art teaches us that there isn't always just an easy way out. Sometimes you have to live with your choices. And hopefully you grow from them. Okay, so I got this area here, this inner area cleared out. Now, and I sort of made my relief cuts around the head. All of this is going to be cut out. I'm going to actually take there's going to be a separate color block for this. I'm going to do a color for the background. So basically, I'm going to carve all this out around here, enough room to get my brayer in here. And then I'm actually going to transfer this image onto the back so I'll know where to carve at, and I'm going to make a color block, and you'll see some of that for our next demonstration or for our next project, because you are going to take your black and white print and for our next project turn it into a color print. What I'm doing is actually a Japanese design technique called notan, and it means black and white or opposites, and it has to do with where this line is black and this space is white. On the other side of this line, this space will be black and the line will be white. It's very much like a checkerboard. Very simple design process or design technique, but it can be quite effective. Very simple, but quite effective. And notice how sometimes I'll turn the block to give myself a little bit more control on where I'm carving at. So sometimes if you find yourself getting into a little bit of a pickle, you can turn the block. Now with wood, one of the problems that you can encounter with wood, I haven't encountered it much with the Sheena plywood, but you'll be carving along and all of a sudden it's like the wood will start to tear or break instead of carve, instead of making a mark. What that is the grain of the wood is actually changing directions. And so what I always do when it starts to do that is I'll actually flip it over and start carving from the other direction. Again, you probably won't have that. Well, I'm sure you won't have that happen when you are carving your linoleum blocks. Thing I love about woodcuts is that the nature of the process sort of dictates the look. In other words, there's a kind of chunkiness to woodcuts, and that's because you have to lose control a little bit. Another one of them things that the digital world sort of keeps us from doing. We don't know what it's like to lose control. But it's the nature of that losing control and having to work within the context of lost control, that the beauty of the particular technique of this art comes out. Alright, so now I've done some relief cutting around the body, and I'm going to go ahead and carve some of that out. I don't like to carve away everything. I like some of those extra little lines there, like that. I don't know, it might look interesting when I print it. Just those extra lines that weren't really planned, that just show up when you print. And I like that. I like that about this process. Alright, so I made my goal for today. Those are the areas I planned on cutting. So I think that I will call it good for now. Thanks for watching.